The Green Grub. November had arrived, the last month of autumn. The Green Grub decided to ask Dolly if he could spend the winter at her house. He knocked quietly on her door, but no one appeared. He knocked again. The ladybird girl eventually heard him and looked out. "Hi, Grub." "Hello, Dolly." "I was wondering," he began, but Dolly interrupted him. "I'm sorry, Grub, but I'm in a hurry. The great lightning beetle is coming to visit us soon, and we want to hold a concert in his honour. You can tell me when I come back, okay?" "Okay," the grub reluctantly agreed. He came back again the next day, but the ladybird girl still did not have time for him. She was practicing pretty music with Stanley and Alfonso. "Come in, Grub. We can talk after the rehearsal," Dolly offered. The grub listened to the music for a little while, but it was too loud for him, so he left. He came again the next day, but the ladybird girl was not at home. He found a large leaf outside her house, and so he decided to lie on the leaf while he waited for her. He soon fell fast asleep and did not notice when the wind blew the leaf away. When he woke up, he was on the beach and a very long way from home. Dolly and her friends continued to practice on their instruments. By the time the great lightning beetle arrived, they were really ready and gave a perfect performance in honour of their friend in the Forest Concert Hall. Berry played the trumpet, Morris the horn, Frank the saxophone, Flutter the lyre, Bubble the triangle, Balthazar the zither, Rosita the xylophone, Eddie the cello, Stanley the double bass, Dolly the harp, Alfonso the violin, the ants played the flutes, Zephyr and Leapy the cymbals, Charlie the accordion, and the spider played the drums. The ladybird girl only remembered the grub when the special guest left. "Where could the grub be? It's all my fault if something bad has happened to him. I didn't notice him go. I should have listened to him." Dolly was very upset indeed. The wind saw her crying. "I should never have blown the leaf so far away," he thought to himself, and then he blew through the whole sky searching for the green grub. He finally found him curled up on a seashell, so then he scooped up the shell with the grub and blew it hard and fast back to the familiar forest. The ladybird girl was strolling sadly when she caught sight of her little friend. She ran over and hugged him at once. "I'm so pleased that you've come back and that you're okay. I've looked for you all over the place," Dolly stuttered. "I'm sorry I didn't listen to you. Now you can tell me what you wanted to say." "The winter's on its way, and I'd like to come and stay with you away from the cold." "Of course you can. This box will make a perfect bed. I'll put a soft pillow in it and a tiny blanket. You'll feel very comfortable, I promise."
Lanterns. The fireflies lived in a little round house that hung from the branch of a tree on the top of a hill. They woke up one summer morning to find their house was blowing back and forth like a giant swing. "There's a storm outside, the wind's rocking the house," one of the fireflies said in a terrified tone. We'll have to stop it or the house will break off the branch, a second firefly shouted, but it was already too late. The rope broke and the house began to fall. Ah! The fireflies shouted and flew out of the windows as quickly as they could. No one was hurt, but the house was ruined. The forest friends gathered to see what all the noise was about. "The house is smashed up," cried the littlest firefly, and he ran to Dolly. "We'll build you a new one," Balthazar offered. "The biggest problem is that all our lanterns broke," the head firefly told them. "We'll stick them back together somehow," Berry nodded. "No, Berry, they can't be stuck back together. We have to go and see the great lightning beetle. Only he can give us new lanterns," the firefly informed him. "When do we leave?" the others asked. "Right away." The fireflies all set off. "Have a good trip," Berry and Dolly shouted after them. They flew for 3 long days. They spent the first night under the cap of a mushroom. On the second night, they cuddled up in a cave. Then on the third day, they arrived at the lightning beetle's house. The old beetle's house looked just like the fireflies' lamps, but it was much bigger. The lightning beetle slowly opened the door. He had difficulty moving around and his silver wings draped down over his bent back. He wore a tall, poky hat and his beard hung down to the ground. He looked just like a wizard. "Come on in," he muttered. The fireflies told him how their house had fallen to the ground and how all their lanterns had smashed. "That's what's happened. Only you can help." "Very well, I'll help you. I'll give you all new lanterns, but you need to take good care of them. You're the only ones in the forest who can bring light to the dark night." One by one, he carefully handed the lamps to the fireflies. "Hold them tight," he said, and he waved his stick, and the light magically appeared in the lamps. "They're so pretty, thank you. We promise that we'll take good care of our new lanterns," the fireflies told him, and then they all flew out of the house. "Where are we going to live when we get home?" they asked each other in a worried buzz. But they did not have to worry for long. Hey, come over here, this is your new house," shouted Berry, Dolly, Balthazar, Flutter, Stanley and all the other forest friends. "We built you a house in the hole in this tree," said Berry. "And we made the windows and a door," Flutter continued. "Your house definitely won't fall down again now," Balthazar announced with pride. "Thank you," the fireflies all said, and they went tiredly to bed. They climbed into the 15 beds and were all soon fast asleep. The board game. It was a lovely spring day and Berry was playing a board game with Flutter. They had to follow a long trail from a mouse to a piece of cheese. "The winner is the first one to reach the cheese," the little butterfly girl explained. Berry started the game. He threw the dice and moved his counter. Then it was Flutter's turn. She threw the dice and moved. "I won!" the little snail boy shouted when his counter reached the piece of cheese. "Okay, you won. Let's play it again." Berry won the second game too. "I won. I'm the winner again," the little snail boy shouted with pride. Let's play another game. They started to play the game again. This time, Flutter was the first to reach the piece of cheese. I won, Berry. Now I'm the winner, the little butterfly girl announced with a grin. Berry was so upset that he hid under the pine tree, where he threw the dice so that Flutter couldn't see. I threw a 6, but Flutter told him off. That's not fair, Berry. You need to throw the dice where I can see it. No. Throw the dice again, Berry. This time he threw a 2. He got left behind and Flutter won that game. That's not fair. I want to win. That's cheating. But Berry, that's the point of a board game. One player wins and then the other wins. You can't win every time. But I can. I want to win every game, Berry whined, and he was so cross that he threw the board game down on the ground. Okay, if that's how you want it, you can play on your own. And she flew away. It'll be better on my own, Berry grumbled. He threw the dice and moved his counter. He threw again and moved his counter, and he won one game after another. But he soon got bored of the game. He tried playing the game with his teddy, but his teddy wasn't a very exciting opponent. Berry eventually set off to look for Flutter again. It was no good on my own, he thought sadly to himself. He found Flutter playing cards with Dolly, Bubble and Balthazar in the meadow. Can I play too? Berry asked shyly. Well, Berry, you can play, but you're not guaranteed to win, and I wouldn't like you to throw the cards down as well. Flutter eventually shouted after Berry. Berry, you can come and play, but only if you promise not to get cross if you don't win. I promise, Berry agreed and ran to join his pals. They sat playing cards until it got dark. Berry won one game, Flutter won another, and Bubble, Balthazar and Dolly all won one too. Berry was so happy to be playing with his friends that he forgot to get angry when he didn't win. Stanley the stag beetle flew by and shouted down to them. Look, I've carved a roasting stick. Come on, let's make a fire and roast apples. They all seemed to like the idea. Eddie the potato beetle joined them. They all helped to build a fire, sliced apples up and put them on sticks and roasted them over the glowing embers. The little gang of friends ate up all the apples they cooked. Berry gave his last piece of apple to Flutter. He really wanted to say something nice to the little butterfly girl, but all he eventually said was, Here, this is for you. When all the apples had gone, the friends pushed their sticks into the fire and drew pictures with them in the dark night sky. Gingerbread. December had arrived, and the forest was covered in a thick quilt of snow. Berry and Dolly were sitting chatting in the ladybird's dotty house. Let's bake some gingerbread biscuits, Dolly suggested with a bright smile. Berry and Dolly got to work in the kitchen. They bustled around in a cloud of spices and flour and rolled the biscuit dough out flat on the table. Dolly got all the gingerbread cutters out of the drawer. They cut lots of different shapes out and popped the biscuits in the oven to bake. When the biscuits were cooked to a crunchy crisp, Dolly took them out of the oven and put them in a pretty bowl. Then she carefully placed the bowl outside in the snow. These hot biscuits will soon cool down in the winter chill, she told Berry. Just then a magpie flew over the house. He could smell the delicious gingerbread biscuits, and he swooped down and carried the lot off in his big beak. When Dolly came out later, the bowl and biscuits had completely disappeared. "Oh dear, someone's taken my yummy biscuits," she shrieked. "But who could have taken the bowl?" Berry asked. Berry and Dolly decided to go and search in the forest. The first friend they ran into was Iris the ice beetle. "Oh, Iris, someone has taken my yellow bowl full of fresh gingerbread biscuits. You didn't see who it was, did you?" Dolly asked. "Yes, I did. It was the magpie. He flew off in that direction." They kept walking until they met the grub. "Hello, Grub. The magpie took my yellow bowl filled with gingerbread biscuits. Did you see which way he flew?" The grub pointed. Not long after, Berry and Dolly caught sight of Bubble and Eddie, who were building a snowman. "Have you seen the magpie? He took my yellow bowl and all our gingerbread," Dolly complained. "Yes, we saw him. He flew towards the stream," the potato beetle replied. "Look, Dolly, fresh biscuit crumbs. The magpie must have flown this way," Berry suddenly shouted. "If we follow the trail, it should take us to the magpie's nest," Dolly proposed. The pair of them followed the trail of crumbs, and it took them all the way to the magpie's nest and to the sweet smell of gingerbread. Berry and Dolly climbed up the tree and knocked on the magpie's door. "Did you take my yellow bowl filled with fresh gingerbread?" Dolly asked as soon as the magpie opened the door. "Yes, it was me. I was very hungry. I saw the bowl sitting there, so I took it, but I can give it back to you." "It's not nice to take what belongs to somebody else," Dolly said, and marched back to her house in a grumpy mood. Berry did his best to keep up with the little ladybird. "Don't be angry, Dolly. I know that the magpie took your bowl, but he gave it back, and I'm certain that he'll apologise," the little snail said. Berry and Dolly invited their friends over that afternoon. Flutter the butterfly, Balthazar the bee, and Stanley the stag beetle all came around for tea. They all sat at the table and began to eat. It wasn't long after that they heard a soft knock on the front door. Dolly opened the door. The magpie was standing outside and looking very ashamed of himself. "I brought you some rosehip cordial. I made it myself. Please take it as a gift to say how sorry I am for pinching your gingerbread," the magpie said. "Why don't you come in and join us for a bite to eat, Magpie? There's plenty of room for you at our table." This made the magpie very happy. The friends sat around the table, munching on delicious gingerbread biscuits and sipping fresh rosehip cordial. They chatted and laughed late into the night. The Snowman. One cold winter morning, Berry the snail knocked on Dolly's front door. "Let's go and play with my sledge in the snow." Dolly quickly put on her winter coat and her hat, scarf and gloves. She sat on the sledge and the little snail pulled her along. Eventually, the snow stopped. Berry and Dolly enjoyed the winter sunshine. They sledged down the steep side of the hill. "Look at that super snowman!" Berry shouted. "Oh dear, we're going to hit it!" But it was too late. The sledge ran right into the snowman that stood at the foot of the hill. "Did you hurt yourself?" Berry asked Dolly. "No, I didn't, but I think we've ruined the snowman." "Yes, it tipped right over," Berry said. "I'm going to eat its carrot nose." "Let's have a snowball fight with the snow from the snowman." Berry and Dolly started to throw snowballs. It was a lot of fun. Soon there was almost nothing left of the snowman. Just then, Balthazar the bee appeared and said hello to his friends. Do you want to throw snowballs with us?
I'm too busy. I've brought a hat and a scarf to put on my snowman I built yesterday. Haven't you seen it?
Berry and Dolly looked at each other. Oh dear, Berry whispered. Balthazar must be looking for the snowman we hit. They didn't dare tell Balthazar that they'd knocked his snowman over. No, we haven't seen a snowman.
I can't find my snowman anywhere.
Berry and Dolly felt very sorry for the little bee. Don't be sad, Berry said finally. Let's build a new one.
Okay,
Balthazar sniffled. Dolly made the biggest snowball. It went on the bottom. Balthazar made the middle one for the snowman's tummy. And Berry made the smallest snowball for the snowman's head. Then Dolly lifted Berry up so he could stick the head on top. Then the snowman was finished and Balthazar could finally put the stripy scarf around its neck. Berry took a big jump and put the red saucepan on its head for a hat.
Hey, it looks really super,
Balthazar said enthusiastically. Balthazar, we've got something to tell you. We smashed your first snowman. We slid right into it with our sledge. It was an accident.
What? It was you?
Balthazar was very surprised, but then he soon forgave his friends.
This snowman looks much better than the first one,
he declared.
Come on, let's sledge down the hill together.
Berry, Dolly and Balthazar played with the sledge until it got dark and were very careful not to hit their new snowman.